The American model of liberal democracy is dying a long and painful death, and it's all happening right in front of the shocked eyes of the world. The problem is that the 2024 US presidential election process is beginning in the world's loudest democracy. And as part of that, people on both sides are buying guns. And that's not the worst of it. Something has gone seriously wrong. First, liberal democracy is supposed to be a system that lets the most capable individuals in the land stand for leadership. But it's undeniably failed. This year, the two main candidates are an elderly man who struggles with actions such as speaking English, not falling over, and another elderly man who is charged with criminal activity on multiple counts. Let's be honest here, we all know that these two old men are not likely to be the smartest people in their own families, let alone the smartest people in the country. And it gets worse. One side says the entire American justice system has been weaponized to prevent their candidate winning. And you can see why they think that. The energetic attempts to jail Donald Trump have made the US reminiscent of Pakistan, or worse still, South Korea, where presidents routinely jail their predecessors after the end of their terms. In Seoul, you get to the top of the ladder, stay in a palace for a while, and then you go right to the bottom of the ladder, locked in a cell. It's happened enough times to feel like it's a Korean thing, like K-pop and kimchi. In the US, the Democrats are really playing hardball. In the New York Times this week, David Brooks wrote, "Our sole purpose should be to defeat Trump." In the same column, he sympathetically quotes a group which says that the problem is that there are more conservatives than progressives in America. So Brooks is basically saying the minority needs to win. That's not democracy, David. That's the exact opposite of democracy. But is the US even a democracy in the sense of a place where the person supported by the majority of the public wins the leadership? The answer is no. George W. Bush became president while receiving 500,000 fewer votes than Al Gore. Bill Clinton became president with just 43% of the vote. Donald Trump became president after receiving 2.8 million fewer votes than Hillary Clinton. The US is, quote, far and away the most counter-majoritarian democracy in the world, says Stephen Levitsky, professor of government at Harvard University. And there are three other deep-rooted issues too. First, liberal democracy is a system designed to give citizens the right to choose the best of the best. But the actual question being asked, let's be honest, is who is the least bad? When the best a system can do is leave you with that choice, it's a failed system. Second, liberal democracy says anyone can stand to be leader. But in America, you need a campaign chest of hundreds of millions of dollars before you start. The presidency is for friends of the rich. That's not good. Third, liberal democracy says that every adult is able to vote as a basic human right. In much of the US, unlike most of the rest of the world, prisoners are banned from voting. And that means a lot of people because the country has an extraordinarily large prison population. All this tension is bad enough now, but it's going to get worse. Politicians and journalists on each side are going to massively amplify criticism of the other side. That's how the adversarial Western system works. Now that will increase anger on each side and drive people towards violence, which is not something you want in a place where there are more guns, 393 million, than human beings, 328 million. There are already worrying signs that this is happening. On Friday, politician Kari Lake said,
"If you want to get to President Trump, you're going to have to go through me, and you're going to have to go through 75 million Americans just like me." And I'm going to tell you, most of us are card-carrying members of the NRA.
Louisiana Representative Clay Higgins talked about the attempts to arrest Trump in military terms. "This is a perimeter probe from the oppressors. Hold, the real president has this." There are a lot of bad things that can be said for East Asian governance systems. Western politicians and media constantly criticize Singapore, Hong Kong, mainland China, because we tend not to have those adversarial Western-style systems. We don't have those, warring parties and a raucous press. We're just less political. We're more focused on practical things like lifting our communities out of poverty, giving them food, shelter, dignity, cool gadgets, great infrastructure. It's clear the world has entered a period where our constantly maligned governments, East Asian, are actually starting to look good by comparison. Scholars like Daniel Bell argue that, that scolding East Asia for being different from the West is absurd. Why assume that being different automatically means being bad? Being different simply means being different. When economists first started saying about 10 years ago that the East Asian model was superior to the Western model when it came to lifting developing countries out of poverty, those economists were taking a risk saying that. Now the evidence is right in front of us, and that point can no longer be denied. As the 2024 US election process begins, the world will watch, and it will think, and it will learn, and it will make up its own mind about the best steps to ensure humanity's future. Peace.